Hello everyone! Welcome to the stream! I'm Vikova, you can call me V, and today I am playing more Roadwarden, and I think Jabal can't be here today, but he did suggest that this might be the last one. So this is maybe the final Roadwarden, maybe the penultimate one? I don't know, I guess it'll depend on how it goes. I'm really excited! Hello to Rowan, hello to Calmly Enveloped, it is lovely to have you here. Like, at the end of the last stream, we, befriended our way past a unicorn. A monstrous unicorn. What a good time. We're finally at High Island, we've gathered our team. Oh, it's so exciting! Okay, I'm gonna jump into it, but I think we're gonna find Asterion. I know Asterion is supposed to be dead. Like, Asterion's been gone a really long time, everyone's like, you know what that means. But what if it didn't mean that Asterion is dead? What if Asterion has just been stuck? What if Asterion has been waiting for us to come and rescue him, and we can bring him back to Eudosha and she'll be happy? That's what I want to happen. Some settlements collaborate with the highwaymen, providing them with supplies and shelter in exchange for protection and loot. Calmly says, I've loved watching you play through this. I've loved playing it. I've really appreciated the company. Steam says I've played 34 hours of this game. No regrets. Alright, continuing. Rowan says I'm also rooting for the Asterion Eudosha reunion. I just want Eudosha to be happy. So, we're on High Island. We're traveling through the caves. We've just passed the unicorn. Only a few boulders separate you from the deep woods. The song of the sea and the hum of the stream are overshadowed by the screeches of beasts and their prey. While there are some rusty remains of an old cart, and the gentle slope was carved by tools, it leads you toward a wall of shrubs and creepers. You get on top of a large rock. There are no roads in sight, but you spot a humble trail made by hooves and paws. Jabal, hi! I thought you weren't going to make it today! Welcome! The worried looks of your crew are as lost as you are. Okay. So we can ask for suggestions, but I'm going to start by thinking about the map from the giant statue, because we used I think they were called the Sleeper, the sleeping giant. We used them. While the path doesn't lead directly to the volcano, it matches the ancient trail of stars that's meant to take you to the main road, if it still exists. Ah. I'm going to ask for the thoughts of my companions. Thoughts, Aegidia? She pokes the bush with her bow. I'm right behind you. What would you do, Dalit? Oh, you don't know the way? She pushes her wet hair behind her ear. If you want, we can try through the thicket, but usually I left the pathfinding to other hunters. Thyrsis? He doesn't even notice your question, just observes a small cat that's jumping between the tree crowns. Jabal says, well, that's made me worried. I was meant to be somewhere else. There's nothing in my calendar, so hopefully I'm fine here. Oh, okay. I'm probably just misremembering. Hi, Talon, welcome. We're on High Island. We're gonna find Asterion. I'm so excited. I look at the bandit. He sends you a heartwarming smile. I ain't a pathfinder, but I spent some time in the woods, I did, and so did you. We'll figure out a trail. Okay, I follow the game trail because it's going to lead us to the main road. Jabal says Thyrsis, but there's a cat! I know, right? Amazing choice of companion. No regrets. It may be narrow, but proves to be firm and straight. The plants that surround it grow from the remains of the old road, hardened with rocks. An owl gives your group a curious glance from a branch above your heads. 9! Tirana, hello, welcome! After a few minutes, you reach what seems to be a proper trail, beaten, wider than a wagon, and leading both toward the volcano and away from it. Among the thicket, you spot the remains of the stone wall, long since collapsed. For now, we'll stick to this route. The further trail is canopied by overhanging trees, blocking the moonlight. You hear panicked hooves and flapping wings, but you can hardly see anything. Aegidia steps ahead and looks around. Brought any light? I've got a lantern, don't worry. Alright. You grab your tinderbox, crouch down, and after a few breaths, you shove the lit candle into the frame. You stand up and shake the lantern. It holds. You move on, free of the limits of the night sky, as the yellow glimmer dances on the leaves. I am so prepared right now. I've got everything! Just pay attention to the sounds. The familiar yells of howlers fill up the path ahead. The monkeys are moving among the tree crowns, barely visible, and the longer you're around, the greater the pain thumping inside your skull. Their territory is vast, and they don't need to attack you to wound you. Oh gosh, the howlers. I have the dragon horn. Hang on. Thoughts, Aegidia? Her lips are twisted in a pained grimace. Want me to shoot? I'm ready. We're not going to shoot them. What would you do, Dalit? She loads her crossbow. We're not going to shoot them. Thyrsis? He observes the closest monkey. Even I can't reach them. But they'd better not get any closer. Look at the bandit. He's rubbing his temples, looking down. We're plugging our ears. Do the same. After you throw them a candle, it takes them a few minutes to shove some wax into their ears. The howling becomes muffled. But as long as you have ears, some of it will reach you. We're not shooting them. That's a dice roll to ignore them. I'm going to blow the dragon horn and hope it scares them away, alright? Because we've got this big old dragon horn. The terrifying bellow of a monster spreads through the night. The howls get higher and whinier as many of the beasts leap away. I'm gonna save and dice roll to try and just run to the other side. I don't want to kill these howler monkeys. Sam, hello, welcome! Oh, I'm so excited. We're gonna run to the other side. Having a reliable source of light with you, you manage to scare off the few howlers brave enough to get in your way. Staying right behind Thyrsus's unstoppable creepers, you leave the beasts behind without a scratch. We did it! Yes! I run until my head stops aching. The relief is short-lived. The pond ahead is swarmed with buzzing insects, and judging by the bones of a dragonling you see on the bank, they're as hungry as they are numerous. The only road ahead leads through them, and you may lack the strength to walk around their feeding ground. I pull out the sting ointment! Let's get to it! Tyrannosaurus feels like Thyrsus was the person to bring for this. I mean, he's been invaluable already, and he was very excited about the cat. So he's got his priorities right. I pull out the sting ointment. Let's get to it. The scent of lavender, mint, and basil blends into the humid wilderness. Your group covers every ounce of their skin and wraps themselves up with scraps of fabric, but waits for you to enter the cloud of wings first. The creatures split in front of you, forming a dark tunnel. Oh my gosh! Their loud wings shine in the moonlight. There's so many of them that it's like a tunnel. It's just, oh wow. Through the gaps between them, I see the hills and the volcano above them. This is so exciting. Okay, you reach a humble valley. The trees here are sparse, and the stream, while gentle, has completely distorted the path. At least the moonlight can guide you. The black saurians, covered with yellow spots, are too numerous to count, laying just a few steps away from one another, from the grasses to the branches. Most of them are asleep, but a few of the closer ones give you curious glances, sticking out and hiding their forked tongues rapidly. The beasts aren't massive, maybe 2 steps long. You look to the sides. The hills are impassable. Ooh, there's some good options here. Like, I could learn something about them if we were to feed them. Search my bags. Oh, I will feed them. Do I have fish? I want to feed the saurians. Wild plants. I have food rations. I sold all my fish. Okay. I examine the surroundings. You vaguely recognize the shapes of fruit trees and shrubs, but no animals seem to browse them. You crouch down. The road is marked with fresh prints left by various creatures. Tyranna says, in terms of the crew, Thyrsus has been invaluable. Egidia being here makes Dalit pretty much redundant, and the bandit hasn't helped much. Ah well, hindsight. We'll find out. The important thing is we've got everyone. Thoughts, Egidia? She shoves an arrow back into a quiver. There's too many of them. What would you do, Dalit? She looks around with care, then speaks thoughtfully. Animals use this path all the time, so I doubt these saurians are dangerous. And they mostly eat fruits, not meat. Ooh, so maybe I do have stuff for them. Thyrsus, suggestions? Not really, he says. It's their land. I can fight, I can run. I look at the bandit. He observes them keenly. See their tongues? That's how they smell things, they do. We can't sneak by them. They care not about the night. Okay. I feel like sneaking is never the option, bandit. I really shouldn't have brought you, but you know. Tyranna takes it back. That was good info from Dalit. Jabal says, where we had to get shooting on the way over, having 2 hunters had some utility to it, I think. Oh yeah, of course, when we were in the boat and we were being attacked by harpies, we had to have lots of bows. Let's see. I could learn something about them if I were to feed them. I searched my bags. I'm definitely going to feed them. I'm going to throw them some wild plants, because they're obviously not eating meat. That's what Dalit said. You throw the saurian a few fruits and rolled up leaves. Distrustful at first, it steps closer and takes care of them with but a few chomps. Oh, they're so cute! Jabal says, Thyrsus I think is pretty powerful, but also like the hardest companion to recruit by some margin. It was really, if you hadn't explained to me how to build Thyrsus's trust, I would never have been able to do it. Jabal says, I would guess that most players never get him. His line is the hardest way to solve the White Marshes by far, and we had to grind a bit to get him happy. We did, and I didn't even know that. Alright, I throw them the meaty bits from my food rations. You approach the nearest creature and toss it the tasty scraps. It keeps moving its tongue, but steps away. They're not they're small frugivores. We're okay. We'll move slowly, drawing as little attention as possible. I'm gonna save. I'm not risking anything. Move slowly. Your careful steps are greeted with hisses, but the beasts either stay in their spots, not bothering you as you walk around them, or move out of your way, crossing the stream. A few of them don't even wake up. The valley once again turns into a lush forest. The path here is even narrower than it was before. See, even the wildlife isn't that awful in Roadwarden. Everything can be a friend. Just go... oh, I said frugivores, but, which is the technical term for animals that only eat fruit. But frutivores works good. Yeah, I feel like everything in this game is actually friend-shaped. I glance at the volcano. I'm halfway there. The path ahead is overtaken by the thicket, but the fatigue is catching up with you. The remains of a hamlet have no dwellers other than rats and snakes. We should rest here, you say to your companions. You find a flat rock, cover it with your cloak, and let yourself sit idly for a bit before you open your bags. You may not find another time to have a few bites of food. Egidia sits by the ruined tower by herself, wipes her forehead with a cloth, and takes her boots off. Dalit sits down on another rock and grabs a bone comb. What a mess, she giggles. Thurso spends a few minutes looking through the amulets hanging from his neck. His creepers rest on the ground, twitching every now and then. The bandit crouches by the wall in a spot where a beam of moonlight gets through the leaves, and rests his head against the bricks. This is so good. Calmly says, even the player, huh? Strider is definitely friend-shaped. I've been very happy with Strider. I try to figure out what these ruins used to be. Judging by the stone wall and the now collapsed tower, it could have served as a shelter for 24 humans at once. There are no remains of any sheds, working stations, or tools, and you see nothing unusual about the surrounding rocks and plants. Okay. Oh, you mean me? Oh, you meant me, Calmly! Thank you. I look up at the night sky, seeking a sign from my ancestors. I gained half a heart, but I was already full. Long minutes go by and your breath gets slower, your eyes sharper. Among the stars and clouds, you see the shapes of your tribe's home. Your exhausted questions and requests turn into certainty. You can do this, a voice in the wind tells you, sending chills down your spine. Ah! I love it! Ah! Tarana says, the game seems to have respect as a central theme. If you respect nature, deal with it on its own terms, it'll respect you back. The settlements repay respect in kind when you work with them rather than on them. And of course, the horribleness of 10 years ago all stemmed from a breakdown of respect. One leader thinking they knew best, and everyone backing away from each other afterwards. Absolutely. I mean, obviously there's things that we haven't been able to avoid. There are the bird that screamed with a human voice so that a cat could attack you. There's been some really terrible people that we've encountered, but in general, I think this game has really... nearly everything has been friend-shaped, and I love it. I look at Egidia. She returns your gaze and gives you a kind smile. She's ready for the next challenge. I meet Dalit's eyes. She gives you a playful smile, but says nothing. Her new ponytail reveals her small ears. Okay. I glance at Thyrsis. After collecting his amulets, he winks at you and drinks something from a small flask. Ready when you are. I observe the bandit. When he raises his head, he looks like a thoughtful statue, but spares not a single glance to anyone around him. I let my back and limbs rest for a bit, then prepare my tools to cut through the bushes. Time to carry on! Alright! Ooh, you climb to the top of the wall and get a look around. I look ahead. The trail must have overgrown only recently, but the thorny bushes won't be crossed easily. Reaching the beaten track that leads to the proper woods will take some effort. I have withering dust. I don't need the withering dust anymore, I use it all. I'm going to use a... Let's ask what they say, and then I'm probably going to use only a little bit of my withering dust. Thoughts, Egidia? See those harpies? She points above you with her bow. Let's wait no longer. What would you do, Dalit? Buy a sickle sword, I guess. She lets out a weak giggle. Thyrsis? I'll give it a try. He puts on a confident smile and reaches forward with his creepers. At first you think he's going to tear through the plants, but then he starts to mutter, and the bushes bend to the sides, forming a humble tunnel for you! Ooh! I look at the bandit. He looks away. I see no other path, all right. I use a large part of the withering dust, but save some of it for later. After covering your skin and drawing a mug full of stream water, you spread the poison on the ground step by step and form a passage of twisted burnt stems, still hissing as you move them to the side with your boot. When you reach the next section of the old road, you take off your thick gloves. Make sure there are no thorns stuck in your pants. We did it! Oh, this is so good. Trana says, I turn to my companions. We need to stop and wash up. My appearance has dropped to 3 out of 5, which I think you can all agree is completely unacceptable. Don't even joke! We're still 5 out of 5 appearance! I will stop to bathe if it drops to 3 out of 5. What, you think I can meet Asterion with a 3 out of 5 appearance? It's just unconscionable. I won't do it. The road goes straight forward, suddenly getting much wider. The ground is surrounded with collapsed branches, trampled seedlings, and dead roe deer. Oh gosh. But judging by the beaten path and the pebbles under the surface, this trail is as old as the previous one. I think about the map from the giant statue. You've no doubt that this trail is the main road to the volcano, but it's not the only route. According to the stars portrayed on the statue, there should be a shortcut somewhere around here, a narrower one, but much more direct. Okay, I'm gonna ask my friends. Thoughts, Aegidia? Such a wide trail here. She taps her lips with the top of her bow. Okay. Dalit? She crouches down and gestures for you to join her. See these puddles? Troll prints. She draws the shape of an 8-foot with her hand. Walks here often, both ways. Better to look for another path. Okay, let's not stay on this path. That's really good. Thyrsis? Better this than the thicket. Okay, I look at the bandit. He observes the stars, frowning. This bandit does not know anything. I check if the shortcut is still here. Behind a few fallen trunks, you find the remnants of the path. The rotten, dug-in wooden stairs leading up the hill offers no support, but there's plenty of paw prints on the ground and claw marks on the trees. It's now a convenient game trail. I call the others. Let's see if this path is clear. Ooh. Jabal says, incidentally, this is nearly the same team I had for High Island. Really? Who was your team? Did you take Quintus? I almost took Quintus. I still slightly regret not taking him, but I kind of just didn't want to, You had the Gate Guard guy rather than Thyrsis. Ah! See, I would have definitely still taken Thyrsis, but I was considering whether I was going to take the Bandit or whether I was going to take Quintus. But I just felt like he'd already been through so much already. I didn't want to drag him to High Island. The narrow, twisted path takes you to a creek, then down the human-carved tunnel leading through a rocky hill. The closer you are to the volcano, the more signs of humans you find. The abandoned tools, the overgrown fences and fire holes, the fruit trees and trimmed centuries-old oaks. The ribbon of smoke hides the stars behind it, though you still can't smell it. There's a ribbon of smoke? Oh, from the volcano. The mountain's upper half is black and grey from cold lava and ashes, while the lower half is mostly green with short but lush trees and thriving flowers bathing in the moonlight. You see the shape of an open gate at the end of the road. Jabal says, I didn't get to ask the tribe first, so they were really not happy with me afterwards. Oh, that's why you were like, definitely go and check with the tribe. Thank you for the heads up. Alright, this is it. This is the path to the volcano. Let's go, everyone. The stone posts are dark from dust, but as good as new, even though the crooked planks of the wooden leaves are beyond restoration. Seeing nothing on the top of the wall, you enter the partially buried ruins, with humble buildings sticking out from the layers spit out by the volcano. It takes only a few breaths before the first enemy jumps on the road from the roof of a ruined hut, and your crew prepares their weapons. It's a head shorter than you and walks on its hind legs, but has the head of a raccoon, though its ears are too small, the fangs too long, and the eyes resemble those of an ape. Despite its human-like posture, it leans slightly forward, with arms curled up. It has no tail and keeps sniffing, as if it barely sees you. Oh, it's the drum people from Eastshade! Do you remember the raccoons that lived underground? And came up and did the night dancing. I can't kill this! I can't kill a little raccoon guy! Next is the boar-headed beast, with 2 sets of remarkable tusks and bristles instead of puffy fur. Then they're joined by 2 long-tailed rat folks and a fox folk and a lizard folk. We can't face them on their own ground, grunts the bandit. I don't want to fight any of these! Jabal says most of the things of, I really think you should do X, I've been doing have been, I know I got this wrong or didn't have time for it in my own chaotic run. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate it because I think this is the only run I'm going to do with this game. I want the good ending. I'm not fighting these. I look for the leader of their pack. I'm going to save. The tallest one of them all is the beast with deer antlers. It steps forward and crouches down, touching the ground with an open palm. It doesn't make a sound, just pierces you with its almost human eyes. Its pack blocks the twisty path forward that is carved in the mountainside, narrow and completely open from one side. You think of the tales taught to all children in the Dragonwoods. The beast folk may be destructive, but if not threatened, they're willing to trade. You've got some food that you could offer to the creatures, but it's not enough to fill this many stomachs. Oh, I didn't bring enough food! We've got no supplies, we should seek another path. The beasts stay in the ruined village. You follow the narrow side path, reaching a lone tower made of stone. Though seeing how most of the loose bricks are on the outside of the structure, it could have been a hollow building used to lower down boulders from the platforms at the top. You roll up your sleeves and stretch out your arms. It may be an endeavor, but you can do this. Okay, loose bricks. I'll use the tool of distraction to shape my path, yes. You shatter the bricks or break into the mountainside whenever you find no spot to rest your hands and feet. This is also the perfect opportunity for my bone hook! You don't put enough trust in the structure to simply climb up the rope, but it secures you as you get higher. I look at my crew. What do you say? A bit more effort and we're there? Despite the troubles of the journey, they give you determined nods. After a short break, I mean, there haven't really been troubles. They get to work, helping you reach the tougher spots. Once you get to the top of the tower, you easily reach the collapsing wooden platform. After pulling yourself up a few more times, you're on the ground, gasping for air. There are no monsters in sight, just the trail forward. I make sure the others are safe. The volcano! Eastshade was a game where we were a painter, Tirana. We were just traveling around this beautiful, peaceful island, painting things, and all the quests involved getting paintings of certain things, and we were, I mean, it was just wonderful, highly recommended, and everyone in Eastshade is animal folk, which is also really fun. I mean, it's a really good game. It's like, what if Skyrim, but everyone is animals, and there's no fighting and combat, you're just painting pictures. Tirana says, oh, I do remember that. That was the thing with the Black Thistle running joke. Exactly, but let's not bring that back up. I still feel bad about the thistle. The howling wind pushes your crew up the short path, between the tufts of grass, sparse yellow flowers, dormant ashes, and trails of cold lava. Your legs, unused to such long wayfaring, ache. Dalit kneels down on the poorly lit ground. Someone was here long ago, she says, but went only in one direction. I follow them slowly, looking out for animals. Only in one direction! Oh god, Asterion, no, be alive! Tirana says, I think that was long enough ago that we were still I at that point? Oh, really? Maybe. Calmly says, being nice, so pretending not to remember Black Thistle? I don't know what you mean. Oh, nothing. Yeah, nothing. There aren't many signs of past dwellers. The burnt cart, the collapsed shed, the digging tools made of antler or rusty steel. The trail ends at the cave mouth. The leaves of the gate are made of stone, now ajar. You push aside the battering ram. I drop my heavy bags on the ground. Be ready to fight in narrow corridors. Oh, let's not fight, though. The light you're carrying guides your group through the complete darkness. The polished walls of the tunnel, free of pointy rocks, were no doubt carved by human hands. Your steps are loud, unlike the gentle draft in the deep stream. You pass by another corridor, buried by the mountain. You gesture for the others to stop. Something behind the corner kicked a rock that is now rolling on the floor. I'm not getting ready to strike. Asterion? Ugh. The ghastly scream of a human-like throat makes you take a defensive stance, but despite the passing breaths, no attack follows. Holding the light in front of you, you reach the next chamber. The undead is furiously squirming in its attempts to release itself, alternately pulling the spear that's nailing it to the wall and reaching toward you, as if it's hoping you'll fall into its embrace. There are no other corpses in sight. The creature must be starving. Egidia covers her mouth, stopping herself from screaming. Thyrsus narrows his eyes. Yeah, it's him. Dalit gives you a worried glance. I'm sorry. The bandit gives you a fearful look. What happened here? Oh no. Oh, Asterion, no. Oh. Katie, hello. Katie says, thank you for being lovely, cozy company while I survived the workday. Thank you for being here. No, I should have called this. I didn't even think about the fact that we might find not Asterion's body, but Asterion's zombie. Oh my gosh. I don't want to tell you, Dosha, this. No. Oh, I've been looking for you for so long, Asterion. Let me take a look. The half-rotten flesh and the worn, torn tunic tell you little, but Asterion's short shell is still wearing the mail you were told about, now rusty, even more clangy than a new set. Some of the red hair and beard remain on the monstrous pale face, but most of their strands are all over the floor. The knees of the creature are shattered. Next to them rests a large rock. Did he trap himself? I think he knew he was going to die, so he imprisoned himself here. You step closer. The undead does its best to throw itself at you, but it's not strong enough. I just need one precise shot from my crossbow. The quarrel shatters the skull, scattering its pieces over the chamber. The corpse leans forward, loosely resting on the haft of the spear. Your crew remains silent. The light flickers. I look at Egidia. Are you all right? She was friends with him. Ah, shit fire. Her shoulders slope as she steps away. Isn't it weird? How souls like his get swallowed by the forest, whilst Thea sits on her throne of dragon bones? She gets weaker and weaker from that illness of hers, but still has enough of breath to lie and scheme. Just stupid. I search the shell's bundles. No one is eager to assist you. Among the decomposing soggy bags and pouches, you find a humble bunch of coins threaded on a bowstring, far from the 50 that you were asked to find by Pelt's innkeep. Other than that, you find no potions, weapons, or travel kit, only a few unassembled torches. I examine the cave. The centuries-old treasure spread among the collapsed racks and chests is mostly beyond use, but you do notice a few tools and statuettes made of now green bronze. Judging by the simplicity of the chamber, it was likely little more than a basic storage room. The corridors leading to the deeper caves have all been buried by time. Oh, I hate this. I'm so sad. We'll collect the bronze and iron. Someone might use them. Since you have quite a few capable hands with you, the clangs and rattles last for quite a bit, even though you take only the most promising pieces to avoid encumbrance. Thyrsis scowls at you, but follows the order. I'm not carving my name here. Let's get back to the boat before the sun rises. You spare the corpse one more look. I should burn the bones. You surround Asterion's shell with a few wooden logs and some of his own possessions. The smoke drives you outside. The fresh air makes you yawn. You grab your bags and approach the edge of the scarp, observing the woods of High Island. You recognize the trail that led you here from the Valley of the Saurians. Let's try to follow the same trail. We should be able to reach the harbour before low tide. We've done it, everyone. Tirana says this place is dead, best to let it lie, I think. Yeah. You help your group tie the boat to the piling. Aegidia, worried about Shadowfax, is the first one to enter the hamlet. The others start to plan their return home. Dalit makes sure her crossbow didn't suffer from the salt water. She's seasick again, but doesn't say much. But her giggling remains as honest as ever. Thyrsis throws away one of his creepers. Gotta make a new one when I get home. The bandit stays away from the others, listening carefully to each word. I rub my eyes and follow Aegidia. I better get ready. You scratch Shadowfax's neck. Take off your bundles, splash your face with cold water. Now you need to take everyone to safety before you stop somewhere for the night. Let me just eat some food. I can't use it right now. Well, that's fine then. You're going to end the day at the southern crossroads, the western crossroads, Foggy Lake, or the Watchtower. I want to go to Eudosha. Southern crossroads, the western crossroads. I mean, I think we're going to end at Foggy Lake. I always go to Foggy Lake. Foggy Lake. Oh. You hear a commotion coming from the lake, drawing your eyes to the air bubbles and water ripples. After a couple of moments, a scrap of the lake turns red. The foragers are carving a new set of throwing clubs. You smell food. There are empty bowls and mugs scattered around right next to a bucket with water. Foggy is resting on a chair, observing you with a single open eye. She welcomes you with a stentorian, cheerful shout. Hello, love! Good to see you in one piece. I approach Foggy. I don't have very good appearance. I need to buy some food. Alright. I'd like to eat. I show her the ocean necklace. Any ideas where this comes from? She doesn't reach out for it. Ah, one of those that shine in the sun. The folks from Gale Rocks make them from shells and dead sharks they find on the coast. You ask about a probable owner, but she lets out a puff. Could be anyone. I bet it's Glouche's. Anyway, I found Asterion. After your story, she lets out a chuckle. So that's what he's been up to? Going there all by himself? What a dumb boy. She sees your look and shrugs. What can I say, love? He wasn't of much use. I wish I could get the head of his lizard. It would look plenty fine. Oh, there. She points at the bug's trophy with her broad chin. Well, I'm sad, Foggy. Gonna sleep. I'm gonna bathe, and I'm gonna go and find Eudosha next, I think. We eat. I've got a lot to wrap up, and then I think we're done with the game. Tirana says, Strider marches in. Despite all that's happened, they still only have one thing to say with a knowing smile. Foggy! Food! Absolutely. Okay. We should also tell the tribe of the Green Mountain, but I'll get there later. I'm going straight to Eudosha. I didn't bathe! I didn't bathe. I'm a fool. I washed myself. Thank you. Jabal says, I think we've really got Eudosha and Tribe of Green Mountain as must-dos. Absolutely. You touch the cold shell. The monster's eyes glow red. Strider, come inside. I could use a break. The golems let you in. I go straight to the house. Eudosha's sitting on the stool by the hearth and stares at an inkwell placed right in front of her. Asterion is dead. You describe your expedition, but she pays little attention, observing the ends of her hair. Just tell me what happened. Your vague answer is met with a sad yet accepting smile. Too bad he chose to die alone. I'm gonna offer her work in the city. I don't think Hovlavin is good, but she has nothing here. Do you think I should? Jubal, how do you feel? Her golems are protecting the peninsula right now. But she's also really unhappy. Is this something that I'm doing to be good for her, or is this something I'm doing to be good for Hovlavin? Because if it's for Hovlavin, I don't want to do it. Tirana says, I don't think you should make the offer. Jabal says, I don't know, honestly. Let's not then. I don't think Hovlavin is good. And I think I want to stay here at the end of the game. Tirana says, you said you want to come back, and if she accepts, you'll come back without her. Yeah, that would suck. Let's not do that. I don't want that. Sam says, it's kind of funny to me that V is so concerned with bathing this game, given that they've described the shower as their IRL nemesis. No, but the thing is, the shower is my nemesis. It's a sensory nightmare, but I obsessively shower. So, I relate strongly to Strider's need for 5 out of 5 cleanliness. Alright. I go outside. I'm sorry, Eudosha. What time is it? 5 hours? I don't think I can sleep there. Let's sleep at Foggy's and then head to the Green Tribe of the Green Mountain. Oh, I could tell Pell to the north, but I don't really... There's a lot of people I don't think actually care what happened to Asterion, and I don't really feel the need to tell. Katie says, totally agree on the shower being a sensory nightmare. I opt for baths instead when I can, because just being able to run it and just flop in is preferable. Ah, well that's nice. I can't bathe. I don't like bathing either. The shower is preferable for me, but it's horrible. Tirana says, Strider's not V. I don't think V can use a crossbow. True, true. Alright, let's sleep. I love being at Foggy's. Foggy very much feels like home in this game. We go outside. We'll bathe. Always bathe! Katie says, I must admit, I love talking bathing rituals with neurodivergent folks because we're all so wildly different, but all very specific in our ways. Absolutely. Though that is very, very true. Gotta wash myself. There we go. Tribe of the Green Mountain. Jabal says, also, did you mention wanting to look for the last hunter? If I recall, you have to go to one of the northern path spots for that. Interesting. Okay, yeah, we can go have a look. The gatekeepers welcome you by blowing a horn. For a few breaths, there's no one in sight. Then the Saurian rider runs out of the cave mouth, welcoming you with a hand wave. I enter the cave. Just before you enter the chamber, you're told to wait for a bit. You hear the quiet, grim voices of Cephas and Gaian, and after you're invited to join them, their eyes are absent. It takes a few moments before the shaman asks you to speak. I'm going to start with, I bring you news of what I saw on High Island. Sharing the story of your journey takes you a long time. You get many questions from both of the leaders, and some of the more nuanced descriptions use words that are not known to them. Finally, you describe the cave and Asterion's treasure. Gaian looks at the rocks below her. Cephas speaks in her direction with disappointment flowing through every sound. So after all, he was yet another shell lusting after wealth. You flinch when he reaches for his sword, but he uses it as a support for his crossed arms. Asterion is yet another sign that the city folk haven't changed. Yet so far you've shown us nothing but kindness. Why have you returned to us with this tale, Strider? I just wanted to tell you the truth. Not all city folk are cunning goblins. Hey, hang on, I like the goblins. Gallienne takes a deep breath and stretches her legs out and looks at you kindly. I want to give them the medal. I know they need medal. Your truth and tales are of great value, and if you come here after winter, we'll show you honesty and a safe roof as well. I confronted Thias about Steep House. Her village will soon be under a new leadership. They look at you in silence. To me, Thias is only a story, Gallienne speaks carefully. A story not of a leader, but of a tyrant. My cousin lost his life in Steep House. Fell in love with a young druidess. Cephas looks at you with a sinister grin. Or maybe his scars make you see it that way. He did nothing wrong, lived there and cut stones. Thias's beasts were always loud, and just like the real howlers, they ought to hang from a branch. Gallienne scowls at him, and even though she may be younger than half his age, he suddenly seems much smaller, crossing his arms. You're a good soul to make this happen. She looks at you again, now holding a small green gem. With her as chief, we were waiting for the rat of turds to fall upon him. I stand up. Farewell. I can't give them anything. One of the places just west of Foggy's. Thank you, Jabal. Katie says it feels so strange to have the end of the road in sight. It does. It really does. It's been over 34 hours. Tirana says, it was feeling last week like V was almost done with Outer Wilds too, though maybe not as imminently as Roadwarden. Well, it's going to require a lot more skill, and I feel like twists are still to come, but we'll see. All people are being nice about my voices. Thank you. Alright. I think we're done here today. One of the places west of Foggy's. Well, let's try the northern road. A stout brown beaver clumsily carries a pile of twigs in its front paws. Noticing your arrival, it lets out a terrified whine and disappears in the lake. It left one of the sticks behind it. The howlers gather around as you approach their tree. The smallest of them are hanging from the branches, while a few larger ones get on the ground, observing you from the tall grasses. Just in case, I plug my ears. You stick the wool in your ears. The first touch is soft, but as you push more of it inside, the plugs keep falling out and distract you with the newly muffled sounds. The howling gets less intrusive, but as long as you have ears, some of it will reach you. I don't know if this is the place. I've never really wanted this rawhide. I'm going to grab the rawhide and flee. Let's see. You stretch out your legs and dash ahead. At first, the monkeys move away with a few unconvinced yells, but then those from above start to howl even deeper than before, and you feel as if your guts are starting to move, hitting against each other. You get dizzy, but not much more than that. Your movements are swift and confident as you ignore the muffled sounds. The larger creatures try to cut your path, but being on the ground, they can't keep up with your legs. Without stopping, you grab the rawhide, then carry on, waiting a few heartbeats before you change direction rapidly, now getting closer to Shadowfax. By the time you reach the saddle, the beasts have already abandoned their pursuit. You take a few deep breaths, then inspect the rawhide. The wet, torn blanket is now worth as much as a bread crust. Still, it's not rotten. If the owner is around, they may recognize it. I bet that's it. Alright. Let's see. I've been to the Old Forest Garden a lot of times. And yeah, surely that's it. I'm going to go back to Foggy's and sleep, and we'll head to Creeks to let them know. And I want to take my necklace to Gale Rocks. So we're going to see. Srillik, hi! Srillik says, as long as you have ears, huh? Sounds like a challenge. Check the forest shelter too. Oh, where the foxes were? That's a good shout. Once you get on the ground, Elan points at the old rawhide you're carrying by your saddles. Looking for a blanket, friend? You find one, clean and all, in Creeks. This one will get smelly soon. The light shines on the water and the empty road. With no herbal beds or travellers in sight, the tavern looks like an abandoned hamlet. Going to sleep? I think this does belong to a hunter at Creeks. It's pointing us in that direction. 9 says, V and I are proud big ear havers. Yes, look at my big ears! Alright. We're gonna eat. We're gonna go to Creeks and probably Gale Rocks. Calmly says, I'm a fairy, so I also have big ears, I think. Only you would know. A guard leaning from the watchtower warmly welcomes you with a shout, and the wind distorts the words. Oh, I haven't showered! I approach the shallow creek. I jump into the stream. Oh, phew! That was almost a big mistake. I go to Ela, the carpenter. He is trying to carve something on the surface of a wooden mug, but you don't recognize the shape. He smiles and puts away his tools. Welcome back, friend. Good to see that you stay safe on the roads. Asterion is dead. I found his shell. He sits down. You consider walking away, but he finally speaks, though with hesitation. I'll pass this story to the tribe, though in a bit of a gentler way. He sighs and looks at your boots. I can't believe he found nothing. Why would he listen to a legend? Didn't he know there's so many of them they can't all be true? He adjusts his jacket, scratching his side with an absent look. To think he told us nothing about such a goblin-brained thing. He raises his eyes slightly, and seeing his clenched lips, you realise there's nothing else he can tell you about it. I'm going to ask if he's ever met the tribe of the Green Mountain. A chisel falls out of his hand. When he reaches for it, he looks around, making sure there's no one around. Not really. When I was a kid, I saw the older tribesfolk speaking with them, in the old speech, I think. They aren't around anymore, but I've heard we owe them a lot. Yeah. Ephraim? About the hunters. Yeah. Does this rawhide belong to your tribe? He gives it only a glance and throws it away. I think so. After you describe where you found it, he reaches toward the wolf's head but doesn't touch it. Me and the other hunters go to this place in spring when there's fewer beasts around. Sit on blankets. He points at the hide. Eat before the hunt. Maybe you'll find a trail there. Go to this place in spring. I'll tell you if I find anything. Where am I going? Sounds like you need to go back to where you found the rawhide, says Tirana. We'll try that. I want to go to the Dust Fox shelter as well. Okay. Do I not have time to go there? Why is that locked out? I can't go to the Dust Fox shelter. Calmly says, I've decided something I want to do with my hair. It's blonde naturally and I really like pink, but I think the two colours are cooler than one, so probably want two-tone hair or something. Keep the blonde, but have either strips of pink on or one side pink and the other just blonde. That sounds awesome. I really like the sound of that. You prepare your axe, hearing a suspicious rustle coming from the meadows, but whatever was behind it is now running away from you. The howlers gather as you approach their tree. The smallest of them are hanging from the branches, while a few larger ones get on the ground, observing you from the tall grasses. I try to scare the howlers away. I'll save, because it's a dice roll. You're yards away from the closest tree. The howlers are climbing, swinging, browsing the leaves, and seeking bugs in the meadow. Only a few of them pay attention to you. Why can't I use my dragon horn? You could start with an attack from a distance, but there's no way for you to take down an entire pack. The best you can hope for is scaring them off. I'd rather get closer. You get noticed right away. The creatures howl even louder, pointing at you and jumping between branches. The largest monkeys land on the grass, displaying their muscular chests. I blow into the dragon horn. You press the horn to your lips, and after the first failed attempt, you fill the grasslands and the lake with the terrifying shout of a monster. The howls get higher and whinier, and some of the beasts leap away. One of the larger ones flees through the meadow, shouting in panic. The smaller monkeys start cuddling, hiding their faces, or disappear behind the tree trunk. Those on the ground take the first few steps forward, but they keep looking at each other, waiting for one of them to start. Time for the confrontation? You get dizzy, but try to keep your movement swift and confident. I don't want to fight these. Why do I have to fight these? Ugh! You leap forward, reaching for the blinding powder. You throw it in front of you and jump away from the monkeys. You don't look at them for a few heartbeats, but their painful screams assure you that the dust is working. They cover their faces with their large hands, landing on their bums or moving away in panic. The remaining few are standing still, not sure exactly what happened. I reach for my blade. You look around, but no more creatures try to approach you. You step forward and raise your blade. The wounded monkeys run away, and the others follow them soon after. They don't look back. You doubt they'll forget the threat you pose. I put away my weapons. I search the area, looking for any traces of the owner of the rawhide. After half an hour, you find no corpse, but the trail of the fight tells you enough. A human was dining near the tree. A large cat jumped them and dragged them through the meadow, north. For a few minutes, you follow the broken blades of tall grasses, losing track more than once, deceived by the paths used by howlers, which are now following your march anxiously. You reach a gully, then to a thick forest growing in a cauldron-shaped basin. The branchy trees are taller than 3 houses placed on one another. The beast dragged the human through the thicket, and the scratched skin left blood on the edges of the twigs. You consider walking in, but as you look around, the howlers are getting more numerous and confident, sitting on every tree in sight, threatening you with their shouts. The path is too overgrown for Shadowfax to follow you. To enter the woods, I'll need to leave it at Foggy's. For now, I step back. Okay, I would like to do that, though. I leave Shadowfax at Foggy's and enter the lair of the howlers. I'm going to do it. I need to find out actually what happened. You're more used to Shadowfax's trot than to your own gait. You rush forward, as if you're tracking your next meal or delivering a message. After a few minutes, the light dancing on the calm surface of the lake lures your eyes, and the whispering meadow calms down your breath. A fine opportunity for a stroll? Sure. You stretch out, then allow your shoulders to rest for a bit. Your pace lets you observe the fish trying to catch their tiny prey above the water, the nests hidden among the branches, the mouse living in an old stump. So far, no larger beast has approached the road. You reach the trail of blood again, then the gully. The shadows cast by the trees make you alert, as if you're entering a very different world. Your axe is not much comfort. You take a better look at your belt, cords, and the rest of your equipment. Having no horse, you find a way to squeeze through the thicket. I walk down into the valley. Not much light gets through the tree crowns. The cauldron-shaped basin is filled with howls and monkeys and chirping of insects. As soon as you enter the lair, hundreds of throats burst up with threats and worries. Some of the monkeys run away, others gather in groups, following your movements like a loyal squad. Their gurgling is distracting, but as you look through the darkness, there are countless more black and golden furs letting out the ghastly cries. This distant army is hardly aware of your arrival. Most of them eat, sleep, or groom their companions. You follow the trail of blood, but it only leads farther downhill. Your head starts to spin from the overwhelming noise. Better not to linger. I follow the trail, putting trust in the earplugs. The sound gets gentler on your ears, but no matter how much you try, your thoughts keep returning to the vibrations in your head and stomach, and the blunt pain that grows slowly. Your plugged ears may keep you safer, but not for long. The first large monkey touches the ground, but after you raise your axe and show your teeth, it climbs back up again, though you right away notice a similar movement on the other side. Nothing attacks you just yet. It's obvious that you or any human could never single-handedly put an end to such a grand pack of creatures, but if you broke through their strike, maybe the rest would be too afraid to push on, especially if they remember what happened to them last time. Let's save. I'm gonna keep looking. I may never get so far again. I need to use this opportunity. The monkeys observe you with respect, pouting their lips and growling, but keeping their distance for quite a few breaths. Soon the first monster falls from a high branch, breaking through the foliage of shrubs, then leaps at you with a shout. You reach for anything that could be of assistance to you. Time for my blinding powder. You throw it in front of you and jump away from the monkeys. You don't look at them for a few heartbeats, but their painful screams assure you that the dust is working. They cover their faces with their large hands, landing on their bums or moving away in panic. I've read this before. I'll use a crossbow, I guess. I only have that option. There's a lot of creatures to choose from, and since they're unfamiliar with your weapon, hitting one of them right in the skull is as easy as pulling the trigger. I'm so sorry, monkey. Without so much as a gasp, the creature plunges to the ground. You don't have time to reload, but the monkeys don't know it yet. For some time you walk undisturbed. The trail of blood gets weaker, and you estimate that the middle of the valley is already behind you. I'm out of options. I move forward, relying solely on my axe. Your head starts to ache from all the howls and shouts. Your face is covered in sweat. Holding your axe, you duck, leap, sprint, and at one point you manage to reach the final group. You swing left and right, hoping to squeeze through the wall of black and golden furs. Then a strong arm clasps around your waist and throws you. You hit the ground where animal feet trampled your shell. You shout, gathering the remains of your strength. You release your arm, and the blade hits the beast's legs, shoulders, skulls. You can't tell if the blood on your neck is yours. The grasp of howlers falters. You stand up and run for it, and the whining pack doesn't follow. What do I find at the end of the blood trail? It leads you to a lone, treeless, rocky mound at the edge of the valley. The light falls on the short grasses and flowers growing around the pale human bones. The flesh is almost scraped clean, and the few ravens feasting on them lazily move aside, at first observing you, then preening their feathers. The remains are resting in a pool of dark blood, now serving as a breeding ground for worms. The torn clothes are spread around, most of them made of leather and rawhide. The howls reach you again. The monkeys may be far away, but their presence is overwhelming. You can't prepare a pyre with the constantly increasing pain in your head and stomach, but your plugged ears may give you enough time to look around. I'll press the dragonbone horn to my lips. The terrifying shout of a monster hits the trees and fills their shadows. There are still some anxious growls coming from the larger beast, now clenching onto the tree trunks, but the more distant howls don't hurt you as much. You wipe the sweat off your forehead. You may be the center of attention, but you doubt anything is going to oppose you now. I'll collect the bones to carry them with me. Since they're detached from each other, you shove them all into a sack. The skull, spine, ribs, pelvis. Too many of them to wonder if they're complete. They're warm from the sun. The stench of rotten blood is gut-wrenching, and you gladly step away from it. I guess I search the possessions. The now soggy club with an unusual row of teeth carved in its edge is of no value to you. There's no sack or bag in sight, and after you investigate the clothes, you estimate that the only unspoiled, undamaged thing around here is the pretty belt buckle made of yellowish bone, carved into the shape of a jumping boar. You hide it in your pocket. Ever since you used the dragon horn, your stomach and head have been calming down. I look for the beast that brought the shell here. You spot not a single wolf, bear, or cat. The paw prints surrounding the corpses are so muddled that they're hard to identify, yet none are so fresh that you should worry about them. One thing that catches your attention is that there are no marks of ape feet anywhere nearby. Alright, I guess I leave this place. You hold your head briefly, hoping it will stop spinning, then rush toward the gully. The monkeys' howls are both painful and desperate, which seems proper while you run through the blood and shells of their pack members. Once you reach the meadow, you gasp for breath and your gut stops twisting your soul. You glance at the belt buckle. It's nothing extraordinary, but maybe worth a dragon or two. The large sack of human remains, however, is going to bother you with its rattling. You stay for a bit in the middle of the road, unpack your sacks, then tie together as many bones as you can and hide them again. Let's hope they won't form an undead once they get touched by a fog. Ephrin will surely appreciate your efforts. I did it to keep the roads safer. Alright, how much time do I have? 6 hours. I'll wash and then go to Ephrin. Alright. I'd like to also remove my bloodstains. There we go. Always wash. Ephraim. About the hunters. Dahlia is gone. This time he listens patiently, knowing you are saying as much as you can. Caught by a cat, buried by howls. A grim, violent tale. He looks around. Let's hope there are no eavesdropping children in sight, he says emphatically. But as no one responds, he carries on. But do you have anything to prove your words? These bones in this belt buckle. What in the troll shit? He steps away as you try to handle the sack. What? Take it and burn it. He points at the ground and you place the sack there. He grabs it only to turn it around. Let's not show it to children before the burning, he whispers. But after a few breaths, his confidence returns. I'd recognise that buckle anywhere. Dahlia had a gift. Was ready to give up the hunt if it would mean more craft time for her. But honestly, friend, her siblings and uncle will be glad she's not coming back as an awoken. Every human deserves a proper pyre. Well, we had a deal and you did your part. Thanks, I think. He puts an open palm on his forehead and closes his eyes. Once he notices that the wolf's head obstructs his fingers, he takes it off. Vashel liked this head. His voice is empty. You told me you'd get an even larger one. He looks at you. There are tears in his eyes, yet his voice is absent. Yes, we had a deal. I'll join you on your own venture when the time comes. I don't need you to. But I need to first close this ordeal. You ask him what he needs, but he puts on the hood and quirks his lips into a shadow of a smile. Nothing from you, friend. I already spoke with the others. The wood is ready for a pyre. We've meat to roast. You did a lot for our little tribe, and we'd love to see you at our table. There may be some tears among us, but there will be laughter, songs, and enough of Foggy's cast to forget a thing or two. I can't promise anything, but you suddenly realise the opportunity at hand. A group of vulnerable, dazed souls may open their ears to your requests. No, I don't want to do this! If you're on their good side and know enough about them, it'll be a perfect moment to offer them a covenant with Hovlaven. I do not want to offer a covenant with Hovlaven. Stop making me do this game! Creator, you know better! Oh. I'm sure I can spare an evening. I assume it's Ela who's preparing it. I'll speak with him when I'm ready. Just don't keep us waiting too long, I may be in your debt, but I want to put all of this behind me. Focus on what's to come. I noticed that no soul in your tribe carries a weapon that could contain iron or copper. Not because of some priest prattle, we just have neither. He taps the sharpened obsidian of his club proudly. But we do what we can, and with fine results. We hunt nothing larger than a deer, and cast rocks from slingshots. Ela hopes to trade for copper with his firewood, chairs. We'll see. His eyes tell you that you'll see nothing of the sort. Maybe I can give it to them. I have stuff. There was even a traveller here a year or two ago who was seeking ore in this land. He went to the eastern ravine at the foraging ground south of here and... Oh, I can tell you about it! He gives you a playful look, then suddenly claps his hands and steps forward, making the wolf's jaw bounce up and down. Dead. His tent is still there, but the shell went into the fogs. Yeah. Good hunting. Ela. Alright, this is all I can tell you about. Well, okay. Tirana says what you have is scrap. They don't have the means to work it into useful tools. I guess not. I was told to speak with you about the funeral rites. Let's begin the preparations. We won't start the fire before dusk. He put away his tools. Our hearts are ready, but are you sure you have time, friend? I am. I'll help you with the food. He stands up with a smile and leads you to the house of gatherings. We talk about this and that. Jabal says, I wonder if we'd have got the option there at this point if we hadn't already given the info to the monks. I mean, I tried to give it to them. I did. The rites take a little time and go by without prayers, singing, or sacrifices. The family members share their memories and regrets. Every story you hear is vague, yet accompanied by understanding nods and looks shared among the tribe, as well as chuckles and tears that start long before the conclusion. After the years you spent in Hovlaven, It's hard for you to imagine how familiar and intimate all of the people around you are. Even Foggy and her staff are paying a visit. This evening, the tavern is closed. You now sit at a table and the first few meals are brought in. The bowls are mostly filled with meat, but it's the humble loaves of bread, slices of cheese, herb sauces, smoked fish, and wild fruits that disappear first. The warmth of the bonfire is reaching your hands and face, comforting you whenever a cold gust of wind hits the square. The belt buckle is disappearing in a growing pile of ash. The bones you collected are cracking hauntingly from the heat, but that doesn't stop the cooks from piercing chunks of game meat with long sticks and holding them in the flames. There may be no priests, but I share the solemnity of the moment. The wood cracks... Hang on. No, yeah, this is... Okay, this is new. The wood cracks beneath the flames. You've never seen the village of Creeks as quiet as it is now, but the way the locals face their mourning is anything but lonely. Pats on backs or hands are common, as well as long embraces and whispered condolences. As time goes on, more and more people rest on the stools and chairs, though there are a few exceptions. An old man with no legs is lying on a blanket, served by a girl who seems to be his great-granddaughter. One of the hunters steps away to get back on the watchtower, keeping an eye out for any being that may be lured by the noises. Shoshi is sitting in front of a building, singing about the forests of the past and the gardens of tomorrow. The cooks are bustling about, bringing supplies from the house of gatherings, and taking care of the roasting meat. Most of the children are only half awake. As the cups get filled with mead, ale, and cider brought here by Foggy, Ephron is the first person to sit down next to you, and loudly, though he's still observing the flames. His wolf cloak is nowhere in sight, though from time to time he reaches toward his head, as if he's not used to the wind brushing his black hair, now shining in the dancing light. Judging by the way he sways and how absent his eyes are, he opened one of the casks a few hours back. How are you holding up? I'm using my privilege of being still alive to heal. He starts with confidence, but then his voice cracks. Folks say I did nothing wrong, but, I could have, said no, stop them. And I've seen how... What's her face? Dahlia's little sis looks at me. She's only 10 and now alone. I'm as useful as a spirit. Once you figure out what he's talking about, you try to respond, but he interrupts you by pointing at you with his mug. I'm now in your debt, aye? We going on a journey? His eyes shift into anger. I was losing my wits waiting for this evening. You kept me for so long, waiting. Can't you see those were my friends? As he rambles, his thoughts wander off somewhere else. And before he gets back to you, Ela gives him a pat on his back and places a full mug in front of you. I'm not getting drunk tonight. You're cool, but at least taste it. It's too good to go to waste. He smiles to you, but then the mug appears in the hunter's hands, and all that remains for the carpenter is to sigh with resignation. He grabs himself a stump and drinks from his own wooden mug. All three of you stare into the flames, hardly noticing a few more tribesfolk that gather behind you. The carpenter breaks the silence. How are you doing, Strider? Life's been treating you good in the peninsula? I've had some good days. I'm making progress. Wonderful. He strokes his stomach and meets your eyes. Just don't disappear like Asterion. He'd rather chase after something his whole life than walk away with Lil. Not unlike me, but also... He tilts his mug, pointing the mouth of it at the flames. Not unlike them. After a few moments, you realize that almost all of the adults are gathered behind you, observing you keenly. As the tension rises, you think about your blade now resting by your saddlebags. What? It's Ela who asks the question. We owe you a lot, Strider. Why do you really help us? I don't want to say this! The game is being cruel! Fine, Holdavin wants is good or whatever. Holdava was right, says one of the farmers. So that's why they sent the second one, as a woodcutter. The fuss stops as quickly as it started, cut by the loud voice of the drunk Ephron. Let the Roadwarden make a case for it. You glance at the eyes of the locals. Some of them are distrustful, others are curious, and a few are excited. Even though you already recognize many of the faces, the dancing flames make them look like a strange crowd awaiting a prophecy. I hope I get options here. Oh. An old druid who lives on the opposite side of the peninsula told me about the recent migrations of beasts in the north. You've been struggling with monsters for decades now. It's finally a time for you to seek allies. I've seen your tools, weapons, houses. You need iron, you need copper. Hovlavin will help you gain steel, bronze, and brass. I know you don't have as many supplies as you need. Depending on animals you keep alive to butcher is not a safe way to deal with the winters. You don't really believe this wool will keep you safe, do you? Without a forest garden, you lack wood and you can't afford stone. You need proper guards to protect your homes and lumberjacks. Sooner or later, a plague will reach your village. Living in isolation will postpone this day. But once it comes, how can you know help will ever come? Your best chance is to keep people like me around. Just look how much work I was able to complete at the Eastern Path. You can't keep it clear all by yourself. With the city's army and regular merchant trips, it will endure winters and rains. Ugh. Well, let's just go through them. Beasts don't enter our valley, says one of the hunters, but is quickly hushed. Yet, adds a one-handed farmer harshly, while an herbalist with wavy hair points at the bonfire. And even if, it's turning into a prison. Some of the locals nod in agreement, but old Harvard's tone is far from docile. Better to have a troll in the yard than a dragon in the bed. I don't want to convince you. You need iron. A dark-skinned builder crosses her arms. We've got no smiths either. No furnaces, no place to learn. You mentioned that there are always artisans looking for work. Apprentices, maybe, Foggy corrects you. I'm not paying a lot of attention. I'm so annoyed about this. Can I finish this? You note approving looks among the youth. Fresh blood is of value, says a forager, and Eli encourages them with a smile. After what I've heard about the city guilds, I don't think an apprentice would be a lazy good-for-nothing. Just look how much work I was able to complete at the Eastern Road. Eli eagerly agrees. Your horsemanship got you further than any of us in a long time. One of the hunters interrupts him. You can see that the Roadwarden has never helped us for our sake, aye? They're the city's spy. Yeah, I know. I'm annoyed that I'm being forced to be the spy. The carpenter gives him a long look, then carries on slowly. Spy or not, Strider's past efforts will change our future, and I'm willing to see what else a single Roadwarden can do. Not to mention a squad of soldiers. Yeah, plagues are a concern. If you're so eager, maybe it's you who should stay around, mentions Shoshi. But her herbalist friend shakes her head. We need not one soul, but a way to find many in its place. Plagues are stronger than one's shell and will. Even though she says so, and many in the tribe give you warm smiles. You don't have as many supplies as you need. Some of them don't meet your eyes, as if to avoid admitting the days of hunger. Ephraim lets out a sigh. Beginning of summer, I'd say. He pauses to break through the cloud of drink. We had more hunters than ever, but... He takes a glance at the bonfire and turns back to the crowd quickly, clenching his teeth. Ela observes him for a moment, but doesn't comment on his behaviour. We do have a field now. May not be so bad. The rest of the tribe adds to both sides of the argument, though no conclusion is reached. The wall won't keep you safe. Our wall has always been enough so far, starts one of the farmers, but his partner, now holding an arm around his back, is more doubtful. We lost children, chicken, and food to the smaller beasts. We don't have enough eyes to watch everything. Ela chips in with enthusiasm. If we hope to grow our families or invite new folks, we need more homes, more ground, a new wall. I'd rather have it be a strong one. Still, some of the locals would rather see more effort put into the new fields rather than a wall. One bad fire in the forest and we go hungry, mentions a forager. And a few others agree. You have my trust. After a few breaths, one of the foragers speaks softly. Roadwarden has brought us a lot of good. It isn't just a city servant. Few eyes come from the people around her, as well as a brief anecdotes focused on your deeds and words, until Ephraim reaches for his absent hood and scoffs. We ought to listen to strong thoughts, not soft hearts, he says loudly, and the majority of the group nods in agreement. I have nothing more to add. And it's time for the discussion and the vote, announces Ela, gesturing for everyone to form a circle, and Foggy agrees. And fast. We wake up early. I want to reach the tavern soon after sunrise. Oh, sorry, this is Foggy. Oh, and Love. She looks at you with a wolf-like grin. Better take care of that before it burns. She points at a piece of roasting mouflon. For the next few minutes, you listen to a lively discussion, but it turns out to be rather one-sided, and most of the doubts get buried by pointed replies and references to your previous deeds. Finally, the voting occurs, and it takes no scribe to spot many more hands raised for the aye side. I stand up. This is not actually like the happy ending I wanted. There's no clapping or cheerful shouts. Ela spreads his arms, lit by the glow of the bonfire. We will meet with the city folk and negotiate the terms. The shadow of his words spreads above the old, untamed paths of the tribe, and the grief follows. Nevertheless, a few of the locals approach you to share good words and to wish you a safe journey to the city. Some hope you'll bring back a few gifts. The feast continues with heavy souls, but the tension leaves your shell. All you have left are heavy eyelids and some time to kill. I find Ela and chat with him about the future. Alright. Jabal says, I think that's it for the Peninsula Bar. Quick chat to the innkeeper at Pelt. The end section takes 20 minutes? Let's do it now. Yeah, let's do it now. You wake up on a pile of furs after just a few hours, still thinking about the feast and your conversation with the carpenter. He didn't take much interest in your pursuits, but some of his aspirations are admirable, while many will most likely never happen, at least not in a single lifetime. It had been quite a few days since you'd had the opportunity to participate in a conversation during which there was nothing to win or lose. The long walk you took to the buildings and fields allowed you to observe the stars at a later hour than usual. Now there are loud conversations coming from the main square, where people are sitting with plates of cold meat and bowls of gruel, chatting about the plans for the day. Some of them wish you a great day. There are loud conversations coming from the main square, where people are sitting with plates of cold meat and bowls of gruel, chatting about the plans for the day. Shadowfax is well rested and satisfied with grass. Alright, I will wash. I will eat. I'm going to travel. I guess I'll travel to Pelt of the North. Let's wrap this up. Before you cross the bridge, you're told to wait by Ela. There's one more thing, friend. Ever since we said farewell to our hunting friends and siblings, the tribe of Creeks sees we're lacking fresh blood, and that we got too cocky with these woods and roads. If you think this is a good place for you... His dramatic pause is betrayed by the shaking lips of his concealed smile. You could stay with us for ever long you like. We already voted on it, and to be honest, you're quite popular. His laughter is so honest you can't help but feel the warmth in your stomach. Of course! Of course! That sounds... I'd love that, friend, but I need to finish a few things first. Yeah. We have somewhere to live! Oh, we get to stay in the peninsula! He spreads his arms. Do so! The 10 cities may take a step back from your life, but it's not like we're hermits. Close this old chest of yours and come back. Just don't die before spring. He's standing a few feet away, not sure what to say. Oh, I give him a hug. He smells of wood shavings and mud, but also cooked meat. You stay in a brief embrace without a word. After a few breaths, he heads up the hill. I also walk away without looking back. Oh! Oh, that was so lovely. Okay. Let's do a big save and wrap this up, everyone. Let's do a real save. Make sure this all goes to plan. I haven't missed anything. Let me check my journal. Quests. Explore the peninsula. Find the Roadwarden. I've just got to tell Tulia. Alright. I get off my horse and enter the inn. Oh wait, hang on, before I do that. Let's fix up my gambazon. There we go. That was good. I enter the inn. Sitting beneath an open window, 3 guards are arguing about something, but then ease the tension with friendly banter. The innkeeper is leaning on the counter, dividing a small pile of dragon bones. Quintus is washing his black gambizon, humming to himself. He glances at you with a smile. The man without a name is plucking the feathers from a dead pigeon. Tulia exchanges a few words with one of the hunters. Her voice carries sadness, but she's standing upright. Let's go to the innkeeper. So, you again. I have something new to sell you. A shield. It's large, a bit heavy, but firm. One of my huntresses tried to put it to use, but prefers a long spear. Let me know if you want it. I don't. I found Asterion. You tell an abridged version of your story, during which you struggle to read anything from the innkeeper's eyes. Once you're done, he tensely moves his shoulders, waiting for something. And here are the dragon bones he had with him in the cave. I'm afraid it's not even close to 50. He taps his fingers on the counter, but takes a deep breath. Could be worse. Keep 5 of them. He looks down. May an ape shit on his head. Looks like I've been conned. You weren't conned, he just died. The darkness of the room gives his eyes a sad look. You didn't know him, but what do you think? Was he a crook? I don't think he would try to steal from you, and even if he did, he would have had a good reason for it. I think Asterion really tried. He purses his lips. Maybe, maybe not. There's only so much trust I'm willing to give him. He sighs. I'm going to keep my hopes low. He looks down. I'm glad you're trustworthy. Getting to an island like that ain't an easy feat. This peninsula needs people like you. There are too many things happening away from everyone's eyes. Yeah. Take another look at the main hall. I go join... Can I speak to the bandit? Can we wrap anything up? No. Okay. I join Tulia. She smiles and rests her ankles on her knee. This is the end, I think. Oh. Jabal says, I feel like Asterion had more like the experience of my Roadwarden. I had time. So, I'm not surprised Asterion struggled. She smiles and rests her ankle on her knee. Hi there. I found Asterion. Tulia doesn't interrupt you, nodding as she's keenly listening to your tale about clues and rumours, the old tribes, and the awakened corpse. She ponders for a bit, looking at the oven. So, what do you make of it? Not the brightest death I could wish for someone. He knew the danger, but took the risk anyway, a fair end to his journey. He was biting off more than he could chew, now his kids will face the consequences. I don't know what to think, I'd like to learn his own perspective. He made a mistake, that's all, it has nothing to do with me. Honestly, I may end up the same way. I don't know what to think, I'd like to learn his perspective. This is very true, I wish I could. She sighs. Well, we won't read his soul. Let it go, it's in the past now. His death seems so pointless now. Her sad eyes betray her nonchalant voice. The right and nature take us without a reason, I guess. She stretches out, heads upstairs, and brings you a few items. There's enough of them to make her stumble, but she covers her embarrassment with a chuckle. Well, this is my part of the deal. She rests 2 weapons against the table. You remove the cloth wrapped around the spear's head. It's sharp, made of steel. The shaft is made of thick oak. Asterion must have had pretty large hands, and is partially covered with a linen cord and leather straps intended to support one's grip. The bow is currently unstrung, but it would be about 5 feet long. The polished red oak shines in the light. You wonder if you're too old to learn how to shoot such a weapon. I look at the things on the table. The leather pouch must be decades old. You shake it. There's a few bones inside, but also something made of metal. You reach for the earthenware bottles. 3 of them are very similar to each other, as small as your fist, and all are sealed with wax, though the tiny sticks in them will enable swift opening. Tulia explains that they contain small amounts of a healing concoction. The last bottle is much larger. There are 2 letters engraved on its surface, NB. The soldier has no idea what it is. NB. Finding space for all of it among my bundles won't be easy. I could take that to Eudosha. Hang on. What time is it? I'm gonna take this to Eudosha. Shadowfax spares you a glance as you reach toward your bundles, but then returns to its nap. You take a deep breath. You could have taken the easy way out, but you didn't. Your back, buttocks, and legs are aching from the long journey. The first night you spent on the peninsula could be a lifetime ago. Yet you're still here, and who knows, maybe even rich. I'm going to travel to Eudosha. See if I can get this identified. No. Okay, well. NB. To end the story, do I just talk to Tulia? I think we do travel back to the city. But I want to live here! The priest of White Marshes has agreed to release the dead shells. Problem solved. Just like that? Her voice is close to a shout, and after you explain that it's quite a bit more complicated, she struggles to listen without assailing you with questions. Finally, you conclude your tale and Tulia chuckles weakly. Strider, you just made my life much easier. I can now report in Hovlarven that at least some of the northern struggles won't require an entire squad to fix them. Just don't omit my part in this. You talked to her to start the endgame. Okay, yeah, we'll do it then. I wouldn't dare. I'm more than fine with the truth. Oh, I can't believe we're doing this. Summer is almost over. We should soon travel back to the city. She shrugs. Well, if any city rat is going to criticize me for getting out of here before the end of my watch, they can jump into the sea, for all I care. I can head back whenever. Finish your adventure. Are you all packed and ready? She rests her hands on her knees and straightens up. I am, if you are. You look outside. It's too late to ride to the other side of Hag Hills, but you could leave first thing in the morning. Let's introduce you to Shadowfax. You're going to spend a lot of time together. Oh my gosh, the end game, everyone! Woohoo! The owners recognize you in the Bless the Empress Inn. This time around, you've got a few dragon bones to spare, and you spend the night in a proper bed holding a mug of steaming pigeon soup. The days fade away slowly. With Tulia by your side, you can't simply outrun the autumn predators, and a few times your journey gets violent. Still, she's a good companion, eager to kill boredom with an idle chat. After all the fighting I did in the north, the road isn't too rough. I wonder if it'll be the last time I stay at roadside inns. Well, I'm coming back, so... End game! We get to see if we got a good enough ending now. After 2 days, the road gets wider and harder and you meet the first patrol of soldiers, as well as spot the familiar stone statues, honouring the old, now destroyed villages and almost forgotten tragedies. We're here, says the lieutenant in the last village you visited before reaching the city walls. Without explaining, she approaches a few red-haired farmers that are observing you curiously from the bench in front of their pit house. After exchanging a few words with them, Tulia gestures toward you. The Roadwarden is who you should be thanked for finding him. The strangers keenly listen to your tale, then, with smiles clouded by grief, thank you for your bravery. A man who looks younger than the rest can't stop his tears once he hears his pa has been spared the cursed fate and found his end in the flames. After a silent yet delicious meal, you resume your journey, carrying with you their names and invitation. Maybe I'll meet with them in the spring. I wish I knew what really pushed their father to do all this. Before we leave, I asked for some hay for Shadowfax. I will click that. After taking care of a few chores, you leave your mount in the stables, which, as it often happens, are almost empty. Your eyes are used to the usual conglomerate of ruins, the makeshift huts and sheds, the restored, whitewashed houses, and the few well-kept residences that managed to outlast the invasion. You nod toward a few passers-by, but aside from the marketplace, Hovlarven is quiet. You take your equipment to the backwood corner. It's a dangerous alley, but you know a place where a coin will keep your bundles untouched. The Boarhead Inn. You listen to the rumours, but as the minutes go by, no one approaches you or asks you for your help. The trade goes fine, you hear. The city chief has a daughter now. The new ship is ready to sail. The taxes are coming. The harpies have taken a few lambs from a travelling merchant, but at least the kids are safe. I listen carefully, maybe someone will have a job for me. I remain watchful, things are not as quiet as they seem. I keep to myself, enjoying the calm before the storm. Yeah. I want to go home. The noises of the drunken crowd hinder your sleep. You head downstairs and fully wake up only after you get served the remains of the last day's supper, ibex stew, a piece of rat pie, and a mug of kefir. Judging by the arguments of the labourers and the raised voice of the priest's sermon, Hovlarven is returning to work. When the messenger shows up, you let out a sigh. The merchants want to see you in an hour. You spend some time at a public bathhouse and prepare the outfit you bought at Howler's. It will let you blend in with the elite crowd. On your way, the familiar faces spare you a few nods, but as always, the city folk are too busy trying to outcompete one another, seeking dignity in the realm that belongs to the rich and the priests. There's no better life to find in these walls. I'll buy Shadowfax a few apples on my way back. I have to go quickly, I want to be done with this. I'll buy Shadowfax a few apples on the way back. I love my horse! He has many good facts! After a few hours of exhausting examination, you lean against the wall, observing the arguing leaders. Their jewellery and colourful fabrics could provide for many northern families, maybe even pay for a new stronghold. Aside from the chief and his most trusted advisors, the room is filled with members of the guild, though some of the more significant individuals did not deign to show up. "At least you had more luck than that poor wretch," mentions one of the traders. No one here remembers Asterion's name. "The news you brought from the island is of great value." You ask for something to clear your throat. Your detailed description of the peninsula made quite an impression, and you may be asked to speak with a cartographer later, and getting in touch with so many northerners helped you describe the complex web of connections. You fill in the gaps in your report. You discuss the recent disappearance of a trading caravan, the partnership with Eudocia, the few times you crossed the heart of the woods, the way you reached High Island, the copper vein in the hands of the locals, the shelter by the northern road, the now flooded mine in the south. Still, it's your dealings with the tribes that will have the greatest impact on their decision. I recollect the blizzard of questions about the villagers. Seeing the sealed letter from Howler's Dell earned you a few polite words, and the promise of a future collaboration sparked great curiosity. "So it's still the richest village in the north, even if led by pagans," a priest summarised. "Though lying to them about the fishing hamlet will hinder our negotiations. But what happened to Steep House?" Your explanations made the city chief frown, but it's the mention of Thias losing her position in the village that raised a few voices. A priest placed her chin on her hand. "Well, the druids are not going to greet us with open hands. We won't be able to do much there." Continue. Learning about the plague of Old Pagos has worried the officials, mostly with the thought that you could have brought the illness with you. After some time, they discussed the promising future. Pulling a tribe away from the verge of destruction wasn't on the warden's list of duties, but is a very welcome surprise, you heard from one of the artisans. If we were to decide to move forward with our investment, we could bring a few sketches to the village with our first spring caravan. Too bad you weren't able to gain the monk's trust, but your description of the monastery is a good foundation nevertheless, added a monk after you shared what you knew, albeit omitting your visit to the library in stone. Continue. According to the reports of... The city chief looked at a wax tablet. "Tulia, I believe. White Marshes is using the shells of the dead." After you explained that the issue was not only solved, but has also most likely opened the village to the outside world, the inquisitive questions kept on coming for another half an hour. "Too bad that heretic is still around," summed up a priest. "But at least we don't have to send the purging squad. For now." You drew their attention to the vast peat field, and the artisans started to discuss the possibilities. The room got a bit warmer. After hearing that your visit to Creeks has opened the gate for future negotiations, the council's curiosity rose. A few of the members were not even aware of the tribe's existence. "So you bring not just opportunities, but also promises," said one of the traders. "Perhaps we could indeed use their weakness to our advantage." I hate everyone here. This is exactly what I thought Hovlavin was like. I can't believe I've brought them any information. I'm furious I had to do this. You were then confronted with Tulia's reports, now written down, about the dangers of the Eastern Trail. After the reassuring tale of your deeds, one of the clerks threw the tablet toward a bored guard. "Sounds like the trail can be tamed after all." Continue. The news of the relationship between Gale Rocks and the bandits sparked a long discussion, but your assurance that the issue has been taken care of received a warm welcome. "According to the scrolls, they used to be of great value to the guild," said one of the traders. "Having the largest coastal village open to negotiations presents a great opportunity." "At least reaching the village won't be too difficult now, with the tribe ready to restore its tunnel," added an official. "Whatever we're going to do, we don't know enough about the village's needs, and where's to offer our prices from a position of strength." Another trader chipped in with an annoyed grimace. "Sure, whatever." Rowan says, "I love that you're giving them the most supercilious tones every time they talk. You gotta!" "Should we expect any difficulties from the tribe of the Green Mountain?" you were asked at the end of the meeting. After you described how so far your meetings with the chief and the shaman were rather fruitful, you were met with relieved looks. I noticed that someone's looking at me. The oldest soul at the table, who started her life in the guild as a simple innkeep, smiles at you. Where do you think we should start, Strider? What do you mean? One of the artisans chips in. We need to discuss this in detail, of course, but we can't bring guards and builders to all the villages at once. Since you know the peninsula better than anyone, where do you think would be the best starting point? White Martians is weakened and lacks guidance. You can turn them into the perfect outpost. I hate it. Gale Rocks has more experience in trade than any other village. Together you can skip the difficult first steps. Probably Gale Rocks. Because I feel like they're not going to bully Gale Rocks. Gale Rocks is hard to bully. Creeks may be small, but has great potential and ambitions. I shrug. I know nothing about trade. I don't want to help you. I feel like this is a betrayal. I know nothing about trade. A clerk puts a wax tablet on top of the pile, then opens another one, letting out a long sigh. I keep writing the peninsula. Does that place have a name? There's one I can think of. How would you call the peninsula? What should we call the peninsula? I'm going to call it Wild Home. After 3 days, you take part in a brief meeting in the guild's chambers. You're welcomed by a few council representatives. We're going to move forward with the investment, you finally hear. Your services are much appreciated. You return to the street with a wooden casket, heavy with dragon bones. It will provide for you and Shadowfax until summer. With the city sending its people north, my efforts to keep the tribes safe won't go to waste. Let's hope. The flow of merchants, soldiers, and explorers and supplies brought by... Thank you, Aureus, for this game, by the way. This is the credits over there. The flow of merchants, soldiers, explorers, and supplies brought many changes to the north. While some of the tribes tried to stay independent, they couldn't resist the temptation of new inventions, crops, and security. After a few generations, the sparse settlements were indistinguishable from the other regions of the province, with safe roads, strong walls, and regular visitors. While the trade route was focused on the Eastern Trail, Pelt of the North could slowly pursue its financial goals. After another decade, they moved to the city, living off their savings and occasional mercenary work, forming an experienced squad. The inn, taken over by the city officials, remained one of the few shelters in the dangerous north. One of the new guards was Tulia, who arrived to Pelt soon after losing her squad, seeking stable work among the hunters. After banishing Thias and limiting the influence of the village guards, the druids led Howler's Dell by themselves, drifting further away from the customs accepted among the 10 cities. They allowed the caravans to ride through the village and exchange wares, but had little interest in growth. Lacking in resources, the village could never limit its reliance on the other villages. I think that's good. For the most part, the gates kept the priests, bards, and drifters away, and so the next generations continued to pray to their ancestors. However, as the other villages grew in power, the significance of the formerly richest village in the north dwindled. Aegidia never forgave the sins of her neighbours. Afraid to face her mother, she decided to leave the peninsula in spring, forming a group of adventurers who were eager to save innocent lives even without pay. While she couldn't reverse the destruction of Steep House, her noble deeds helped her spend her nights in peace. Steep House stood in silence, avoided by the caravans that cut a new path through the haunting clearing. Before it faded away, the people of Howler's Dell placed a humble stone statue of a tree torn by lightning on the paved square. While it expressed regret, they have never avowed their authorship. The tribe of Old Pagos lost many lives to the plague, but the supplies brought to them by their friends from Gale Rocks helped them overcome the harsh winter. Yes! Thanks to the revitalized trade route and the earnings from their new copper mine built by the Eastern Road, the locals returned to their craft, providing an essential material to the now growing security of the northern roads and settlements. The tribe kept their savings from the darker days, which they were sure would come sooner rather than later. Tertia stayed in the village, but rejected the further responsibilities of a leader, returning the power to the elders. She spent a few years patrolling the roads until, humbled by the selfless help she received during her struggles, she joined the monks on the mountain, guarding them from flying beasts and escorting them on their journeys to other monasteries. Quintus eagerly joined his friends at Pelt. Yay, Quintus! His next years were full of brave hunts and drinking, until he mixed the two a bit too much, barely escaping a runner. With the help of his companions, he began his path toward maturity. Yay, Quintus! The monastery, left to itself, lost any interest in the outside world. The years went on, and the sounds of hammers and songs gave way to the wind. After a century, a group of adventurers sought treasures inside the ruins, but while there were many, the main mountain had mysteriously collapsed under its own weight, as if it was hollow inside. Orentius kept his word and steered clear of black magic, stepping into the background of local politics. While he guided his neighbours spiritually, he no longer claimed to be a prophet. The people of White Marshes were steadily growing in comfort, not only trading with the city folk, but also offering their services as guards to the caravans and travellers, gaining more from such journeys than they ever would from their unusual soil. However, Helvius' short-sighted leadership hindered the Hovlavan investments, and his tribe struggled long after his death. Ugh, Helvius! After getting a taste of adventure on High Island, Thyrsis stopped waiting for his people's acceptance. Having no plans to bend in Hovlavan, he moved to another province, working as a guard for travellers and merchants travelling through its dark wetlands. The caravans made all the difference to Foggy, who used the dragon bones to pay for the supplies and help that were needed to build a proper wall, then the first new buildings of her growing hamlet. While the exhausting combination of running the shelter and building new structures finally stopped her aging heart, she spent the last 2 decades of her life being louder than ever, filled with goals and ambition. The place known as Foggy's Inn stands to this day on the bank of Foggy's Lake, run by the tribe of Creeks. Using the pay he got from the Roadwarden, Svi soon left the tavern, only to get mauled to death by a pack of spotted wolves. Oh, I'm sorry, Svi. Elan, on the other hand, learned a few things from the hunters and worked as the inn's head trapper to the end of his days. Oh, there's so much end! Oh, goodbye, Sam! Thanks to the new supplies gained through trade, the children of Creeks grew in strength and comfort. The guild brought experienced tanners and fur makers with them, helping the locals mimic the techniques of the masters, but also discouraging any ambitions of farming and fishing. After a decade, the village was completely dependent on purchasing supplies from the outside, but managed to stick to its unusual customs. Ela quickly realized that keeping the road safe was a much better way to earn dragon bones than selling his crooked chairs and tables. While he wasn't a fighter, he often joined the merchants traveling the peninsula, exchanging news and suggesting new investments. In the meantime, he gladly engraved the shapes of animals on cups and plates. Ephron, shaken by what had happened to his friends, spent a few years traveling with caravans and learning from other tribes about more efficient, disciplined ways of organizing hunts and foraging trips. While it wasn't easy for him to influence his family, his efforts saved many lives of the younger generations. Yeah, Roadwarden Ela, yeah. I mean, that's quite lovely. I'm really hoping we can learn about Eudosha, come on! The people of Gale Rocks didn't need much time to experience improvements. Selling the excess of fish and salt, they received much-needed crops and tools and strengthened their ties with the United Church. After a few years, they were able to purchase enough ore to equip themselves with fine blades, keeping their own caravans and hunters safe. Their days were good, but the villagers remembered the teachings of their ancestors. Just as all the lean years come to an end, so too do the ones of prosperity. Though with difficulty, the road leading through the heart of the forest was restored, maintained by the combined efforts of soldiers and the locals. While she no longer had her tribe's support, Glausha refused to abandon her new target, the people of Howler's Dell. However, the villagers, thanks to the Roadwarden, knew exactly where to find her and managed to execute her in her own camp. Oh my gosh. Continue. Eudosha! Eudosha put the bronze rods to use, sending her creations beyond the boundaries of her sight. Bored with work and having all the resources she needed, she was often tempted to reach for the snake bait, but instead started to tag along with her golems, observing the peninsula from their shoulders. Oh, that's lovely. After a few decades, a group of adventurers reached her house to ask her for her help. They told stories of the many wonders they saw, but claimed that the witch had refused to bother with the place outside. Interesting. Continue. Cephas of the tribe of the Green Mountain was worried about the growing presence of the city folk, decided to meet with the soldiers garrisoned at the watchtower by the Eastern Road and describe the borders of the tribe's territory. The tense negotiations would recur once every few years, at one point turning into an open conflict, but the officials struggled to beat the locals on their own land. Finally, the village in the mountains was left to itself, and their recent victory gave them hope that High Island might one day be reclaimed. Me! 9 says, I think that's a nicer ending for Eudocia than the cutthroat Hovlavin would have given her. I think so too. She wanted to be alone. And she has me. Strider, the Roadwarden of Wildhome, tried to get used to the routine of the city folk, but after a year of struggling to provide for their palfrey, they decided to once again hit the road. This time with the understanding that they can't save the Dragonwoods on their own. After receiving the permission of the city officials, they travelled north, helping to secure the roads at the feet of the Hag Hills. By putting their own well-being and safety above their sacrifice, they gathered many tales and favours during the long years of their journey. I mean, I went to live in Creeks. I don't know why the game isn't allowing me that. I went to live in Creeks. And I visited Eudocia every day. And I had dinner at Foggy's every day. That's the story. End the game. Alright, we did it, everyone. That's Roadwarden. I think that was a pretty good ending. Oh my gosh, the Chaos Bean. And Kiwi Tiki, thank you for the follow. I completely missed it. I'm not getting notifications for some reason. Oh, wow. Alright, I can't believe we've done it. That was such a big game, but it was so good. It was so good. I know I've had frustrations. I'm so grateful to Jabal and for Sky when he was here for the advice and navigating our way through it. But honestly, I'm really happy. Oh, good ending. Jabal says the whole peninsula is at the feet of the Hag Hills, so they're not incompatible. Well, it said I spent a few years in Hovlavin, and I would never. Oh, 9 says things worked out for almost everyone. Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty good ending. Jabal says in my ending, Creeks got entirely wrecked by a horde of undead from White Marshes after Arentius died. Oh no! Oh, no wonder you were saying you were too traumatized by your ending to do another run. That's awful. Creeks? And you said that I think I remember you saying that Creeks was your favorite place and you spent loads of time at Creeks. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we got a really good ending, and that is in large part due to your advice, so thank you. Feels weird to end the stream now. That was quite intense. We played 35.9 hours, according to Steam, of Roadwarden, and what a good time it was. I'll have a new game soon. I think next week we might be playing a little bit of Frog Detective 3. Before we start our next big game. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, this is great. Thank you all so much. This has been a wild journey. Thank you, Rowan, for the amazing comics of Dragon Vikova in Roadwarden. It made me very happy. Yeah. We did it! Alright. I hope you have a lovely rest of the week. I'll see some of you on Friday, hopefully. Goodbye, everyone.